officers. I get to have a battle with one of the country's worst mayors on a daily basis. There's a recurring theme that the doctor put up: lies. In the lame duck session, thanks to the little leprechaun Mike Madigan, there was a perpetual lie told over and over and over again that this Safety Act was anything but safe, realistically. The only safe harbor it gave was to criminals, 3653. And we kept hearing how this was such a necessity for society today. Well, it was such a necessity that they took a 757-page bill and had to find a trailer bill with 400 and some pages, not even 3 months later. That's how well they crafted the first structure. It's been encouraging, to say the least, that, members of the Senate like Darren Bailey and others, and the other politicians in Springfield here, thank you. But the Republicans in Springfield have been our best friends, even though they're in a super minority. How do we change that? It's really simple. I challenge everybody in this room. These are the easy rooms to talk to. Everybody is of like mind on some way, shape, or form. It's going into the hard rooms that's going to make a difference in 2022. Having conversations with people you know don't necessarily think like you, and convincing them. You don't have to bring them all the way across, but you got to get a toe across the line first, then a foot. Then you get one leg, and then maybe you get both legs. It's incremental steps, but if we're not willing to fight the fight, we're going to be having the same conversation 2 years from now, 4 years from now, and 6 years from now. How do we change this? We are dedicated. When I took office over a year ago, just to think how crazy some of these unions work. Everybody knows the teachers union has such strong power because they have the ability to strike, number one. But they also have a giant PAC fund. When I took over, president of Lodge 7, our PAC fund had $40,000 in it. You couldn't even run for dog catcher. It's kind of disgusting. Everybody knows it takes money to be in the political game. So that was one of the first things we pledged to make a difference. And my board of directors got on board, and we automatically started deferring money. And the goal is to have $1 million a year PAC fund starting next year. We are dedicated to slating candidates and recruiting candidates this fall for next year. Not only for Springfield, because we've absolutely told Representative Durkin we're going to do everything we can to help flip as many seats as possible, but also I'm not happy with just one spot. We told Dan McConkey we're going to try and help with the Senate too, and even the governor's mansion. I won't repeat what I said in the previous thing about the governor's mansion, but we can't be satisfied. The pendulum is swinging back, and House Bill 3443 and unwinding that nightmare of the Criminal Safety Act. It shows you that even the caucus that put forth that original bill is now fractured. They realized that they overstepped their boundaries. They got way out over their skis because they were telling lie after lie after lie, and the lies finally caught up with them, and people started asking questions. What the hell does this mean for me, my neighborhoods, and my constituents? It meant disaster. So we're not done with that fight. We're going to keep fighting. Please join the fight. Again, have the hard conversations. Every day, every opportunity you have, in every community function you could possibly find. Someone asked me earlier, how do you go about doing that? And even somewhere like Mount Greenwood, for those of you who know where that's at. Well, you go to East Beverly, where the liberal minds are at, and you crash the party every single chance you get, and facts matter. Facts will always be the lies. That's why I never write speeches down. Everything is from my head and from my heart, because I know what I feel, I know what I fought for, and I know what I'm going to continue to fight for. So join me in the fight. With that, let me tell you, I have the personal privilege of introducing a personal hero of mine. Not only a law enforcement hero, but a common sense voice for everybody in this room. Everybody knows him, even more than me. He's on Fox even more than me, for now. Sheriff David Clarke.
I love you folks, you're the best. I want to take care of a couple of housekeeping rules here. This is going to be a little bit of a struggle for me, but we're going to plow right through it. I'm a fighter. I am suffering from severe allergies, hay fever type. This year has been difficult because it's been so dry. Anybody who suffers from hay fever knows what this summer's been like. So got a lot of tightness in the forehead and the throat and everything. So I may have some coughing spells, but I just don't let that get in the way of what I came here to talk to you about. First of all, this state is a mess. The reason why it's important to point that out is because if you don't recognize that there's a problem, you won't go about the strategy necessary to straighten it out. I understand the challenges that you have with Cook County and the city of Chicago, but that's not the biggest problem that you have. I think, and this is just my view, ladies and gentlemen, I think the biggest challenge that you have is you have to find new voters throughout the rest of the state. Until you can convince me you're getting 95 to 96% of Republican voters. And I don't want to hear about the cheating in Chicago. I don't want to hear about how Chicago's all Democrats and the teachers union. I know that. I know that very well. But I'm also reminded that you go to war with the horses you have, not with the horses you don't have. You don't have the media on your side, I understand that. We have to stop whining and lamenting about that sort of thing and go about the work of finding new voters. And you have to do this county by county. Now, I realize I'm preaching to the choir, however, there's nothing wrong with a reminder from time to time. There has to be a strategy. You have to organize. Organize, organize, organize. You can't just do it in Will County. Every county has to better organize. And then that collective, that bottom-up collective is where you get those new voters to the poll. And you'll make, small differences. It doesn't happen overnight. But I'll tell you what, Wisconsin was what you are today. Controlled by Democrats. The legislature, both chambers controlled by Democrats. The state house, for the most part, had a couple of Republican governors, but couldn't get anything done because of the Democrat legislature. So the Republican Party of Wisconsin went about the task of organizing at the county level. And they captured both chambers of the legislature and have had it for some time. And I'm talking about some significant changes. They have like a 50-seat margin in the assembly and about a 10-seat margin in the Wisconsin State Senate. Now that's significant. But it started with a strategy. It started with a belief that things could change. And they did, but if you don't organize, and I really mean organize, and if you don't have people who are running that can prevent a vision, anybody in the house today that's a candidate, if you cannot articulate a vision, you will not lead anybody anywhere. Now, what do I mean by vision? Oftentimes people misunderstand that. I said oftentimes, not always. Vision is this simple. Can you make people feel what you do inside? Jesus Christ was good at it. Moses was good at it. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was good at it. Gandhi was good at it. Ronald Reagan was good at it. Kennedy was good at it. You have to make people feel what you feel inside before they're going to follow you. You have to be able to explain, where are we going? How are we going to get there? And what is life going to look like once we arrive? Those are very important things in articulating a vision. Otherwise, people just aren't going to follow you. They will not do it. Think of the challenge Moses had. in leading Israel out of Egypt had to convince them there was a better place to go. Even though they knew better. That's not how human nature works. You've got to convince them. Here's where we're going, back to Israel, our land. Here's how we're going to get there, and here's what life is going to look like when we get there. If you can do those things, you're well on your way. The last person in recent history who did that in the United States, Donald J. Trump. I saw it and I felt it long before he announced that he was running for president of the United States. I met him. And when he talked about what America could be, I could feel it. I could feel what he was feeling inside. And his message of Make America Great Again captured an entire movement, because all of us who got behind him could feel what Donald Trump was feeling inside. A better America, a better way, America first, right? So that's important. So again, for those candidates, have a vision. Be able to articulate it. Stay away from all the flowery bullshit and the... Don't bore people. Don't bore people. They need to be motivated and energized. You have to energize a base of voters. You have to motivate voters to leave their house on election day and go out to a polling place and turn a lever or fill out the ballot, whatever, however they run the thing. That's motivation. You know why? Because we can always find 100 reasons not to. Well, it's raining today. Well, I got other things to do. It's human nature. There's nothing wrong with it. It's human nature. But in 2016, people were motivated to go to the polls to elect Donald Trump President of the United States. I'm going to talk about a couple things tonight, and I want to focus in three areas. The three main issues, I believe, this is just my view, ladies and gentlemen, right? But I do occupy a ringside seat to this political environment that we're in. But going into the 2022 midterms, three main issues are on voters' minds, at least on our side. When I say on our side, I'm really talking conservative. There's a difference, as you know. Just ask Adam Kinsey. Number one is election integrity. Number one on voters' minds, election integrity. We do not trust our elections. We don't have faith in our electoral system, and we have every reason to not be. The second is law and order. These have all been told. Republicans in Congress told these. It's three top items on voters' minds. Law and order. The third, border security. So we're on the right side of what's on the voters' mind going into 2022. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. But I want to start with this, what I call a cult of progressivism. And it is a cult. This nonstop push by the American left to dismantle existing American time-honored and time-tested institutions is how they will force socialism and central control of the American people. They'll continue to destroy the bedrock institutions of Western culture, such as religion, schools, family, capitalism, businesses, law and order, the Constitution, including the First and Second Amendment and the rule of law. When those pushing back surrender at the ballot box, the scales will tip and the left will achieve their ultimate plan to destroy this great country. Has anybody noticed the ideology of the progressive movement has significant similarities to the psychology of cults? Both are premised on brainwashing and lies. They both grow by hoodwinking people to distrust their own sensibilities, plain and simple. I looked at several studies on how cults form, whether it's centered on religion, politics, or terrorism, and how they recruit their members. The parallels are so similar, it's difficult to discern the differences. One study pointed out that cults are built around extreme, unusual, or fringe beliefs. Think global warming, abortion, and the scientific assignment of gender, for instance. The recruitment process involves a radical extremist group seeking out people who are fed up with the way society is run, and they offer a solution to everything they dislike about society if they join their group. People seek out communities that validate their beliefs no matter how kooky they might be. These cults offer attractive promises. Think free health care for everyone, free college, reparations for slavery, a guaranteed income whether you're working or not, and affirmative action programs that go on in perpetuity. Studies on the psychology of cults point out that the most common types of people who join those who feel disenfranchised. How often do you hear that word used by the left? Everybody's always disenfranchised. Notice that disenfranchisement is one of the most common words used in the race politics vocabulary. This victimology theme must constantly be renewed. This is accomplished by continually keeping people in a fit of rage about their unaccomplished life, keeping it front and center. Hence, progressive constant reminders of racism, discrimination, gender bias, xenophobia, and homophobia. These wrongs are portrayed as alive and well in society and lurking around every corner. A mindset of victimhood has to be eternal, perpetual, or will fade from the cult member's memory. Thus, the creation of Black Lives Matter and the Women's March on Washington, D.C., Occupy Wall Street, and Antifa. Rallies and demonstrations serve as their meeting places. Slogans like tax the rich, no blood for oil, no justice, no peace become a rally cry, a thing to stay organized around. These strong emotions make people angry and want to lash out at people outside of their group, like police officers and law-abiding citizens. A favorite tactic used by cults and progressives are smears that are unverifiable, like police unlawful use of force, or voter ID laws and gerrymandering by Republican legislatures are intended to discourage black people from voting or black candidates from winning elections. It's a big lie. Another tactic is to make accusations that are not even evaluable, like implicit bias. Studies on cult psychology show that cults offer an opportunity for revenge. A pizza maker in Indiana is labeled a bigot and his business is destroyed. Cake bakers in Colorado wanting to exercise their religious belief are sued in federal court. And a hospital run by nuns wanting to exercise something inside the progressive ideology is forced to dispense birth control pills under a government-run healthcare scheme. An us versus them mentality is essential to keep generating requisite revenge. Studies show that a destructive cult is an authoritarian regime that uses deceptions and mind control techniques to make a person dependent and obedient. They use what is described as thought-stopping techniques, where people are taught to stop doubts from entering their minds. A culture of compliance is mandatory. Tenets of progressivism are truths with a capital T, and followers must pledge allegiance of abject servility, even if they don't understand it. If you are black and don't call out whitey at every turn, your blackness is questioned. You are labeled an apostate and a traitor to your race. Also, don't try to tell me that global warming true believers actually understand it as science. The cult of climate change leaders say that the science is settled and there's no room for any counter view.
All disagreeing voices are labeled climate change deniers and worthy of punishment and cancellation. Progressivism, like all forms of cultism, is a germ we need to stop from spreading. It's like a cancer. All of it must be extracted for a healthy recovery to take place and for our country to go on in the fashion envisioned by the founding fathers. Socialism and its forebearer communism have always been about mind control to maintain power. The American experiment in freedom has always been about self-rule and self-determination. The American left understands these polar opposites well and will continue to destroy our country if we let them. Now I want to close with this. I have a lot more to say. And I just want to touch a little bit on fair and free elections. All right? We deserve to have fair and free elections. We deserve to have transparency in the process. And we must never, ladies and gentlemen, we must never surrender our right to examine election results. Going on in Arizona and may happen in other states is a good thing. I don't understand why GOP on the Hill won't support those states that are examining election results. That is a right that we have, and they need encouragement. And we need to do this in all the states where there are irregularities, including my own Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nevada. And if it takes 4 years, so be it. What we need to do is what the Democrats did to us and Donald Trump for 4 straight years by carrying that lie. That lie that Donald Trump alluded with the Russians to steal the 2016 election. It was a lie. It never had evidence. Now they're asking us for evidence. There was never any evidence. They conducted that campaign, that hoax, for 4 straight years. Convened a special counsel, the Mueller Commission, knowing darn well there was nothing there. It's our turn to do unto them what they did unto us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. May God bless you, and may God continue to bless the United States of America.